Hello, Belize.
Hi, Sam.
What are we watching?
Happiest season.
Happiest season. I don't think anyone was really happy that season though.
Yeah, fair enough. Uh,
um,
yeah, what you think? Start us off.
Jane was my favorite character, and they were all so into her for no reason. That's it. That was my hot take.
When I watched it the first time, I was watching it with my roommate, and I was like, "Don't let Sam see this character. She's gonna take it personally."
I did take it very personally because when she was at you gotta understand, when I was watching the movie and the dinner table scene happens and she's talking about like the phloem and like how the thing was stolen from the there was a stone stolen from like this box, but it was stolen by an evil phloem. That's like it's like a flex, but it has less arms and more powers and blah blah blah. I was like, this is how I speak to police. I'm Jane.
Jane's like a very, very extreme version of any like person that's similar to that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should take it personally. She's just meant to be
Well,
comic relief.
I do, in the sense that Jane's life kicks the fuck off at the end of the movie. So there we go.
Yeah, and it was great. I thought that was really cool that they did that. Um, is that it? So Jane is the best, and then what
That
about
was
you?
just my hot take. Like, if you're asking like my initial reaction, that's what I just had to get off my soul. But you tell me about your watch through. You saw it prior to this. You picked technically. I'd say you picked.
Yeah, I picked mainly because it was showing up on TikTok a lot for me. So I was like, ooh, okay, like I wanna talk about this. I don't know if you've seen any TikToks and like what mainly TikTok is saying about it, but yeah.
I I had the whole ending ruined for me because of TikTok.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Wait, you didn't know the end?
Not when I watched it, no.
Oh, all the TikToks that came up on my For You page were like, let me tell you why she should have ended up with Riley. And I was like, oh, well, fuck, I agree.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was wondering about that, but I have like notes of a certain order, but that doesn't technically come up in my notes, so we can start with that if you want to talk about you thought she should have ended up with Riley.
I think the movie could have ended three ways. My least favorite of those three options is the one they chose. A, what I kind of wanted to happen is that she doesn't end up with anyone. And I know that we keep saying that over and over again, is that like, why can't our protagonists just end up with themselves? And she had a great friend, and I just feel like she really needed to find someone who would love her the way she deserved to be loved. Two, she could have ended up with Riley, who was the openly out woman who was kind to her. But even then, I didn't think they built it for that. Like, I don't think that was the point of that character. That character was just like, hey, wouldn't it be nice if you just had more, like, I don't know. I think that was like, they wanted you to think she was going to end up with Riley, you know? But Harper, I just, I understand not wanting to come out to your family, and I understand how it's important. That's an important narrative to have. I understand the value of that narrative. It's important. I just think she was so mean.
I think that makes sense. And I mean, honestly, I agree with you that it should have been that she ended up on her own. And I agree that we keep saying that, but usually we say that when we don't like the other options, not just because we're like, oh yeah, empowerment. It's like, no, like Harper's I have a list of notes that I will get to in a second about all the toxic things that Harper does throughout this film. Like literally wrote them all out because I was like, this is really toxic.
Okay,
Um,
good. I was a little nervous that we were gonna get on here and you're gonna be like, "Oh no!" But then I realized who I'm speaking to, and you and I would never. You and I are always like, "Is that was that toxic?"
okay. I was like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Okay.
We can play
But
putt putt with all the red flags that we pick up with people.
literally. And then I think the reason why you're bothered by Riley is not like why it shouldn't be Riley in your eyes is the same reason why I don't think it should have been Riley is because she's the ex. And it is super weird to date the ex of the girl you're currently with. if it was just that this is a girl that they both went to high school together and they're friends, right, like old high school friends, and then she and her get close, great. But the fact that this is all coming from an ex doesn't make her look so great. Anything she says, even if it is 100% true, you're not going to look good if you're talking about your ex-girlfriend to their current girlfriend.
The thing that's so beautiful about Abby is that Abby didn't do anything wrong. Abby throughout the whole film is like, the balance of dickery is so lopsided. But if she had hooked up with the ex, then I would no longer care for Abby's plight. And it would also just paint such a negative image of what it is. There aren't enough women-loving women films that if one of them was going to be a total dickbag, that is honest to the community. There are those women who, and men, who don't want to come out and they handle it poorly. But we needed a good character like Abby and Riley to just level things out, because Riley is more of Abby's like foil character, like the girl who came before Abby. Like, I understand you better than anyone here because I was you.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's it really. And I really liked Riley's character. I like that she flirts but doesn't go too far with it. And what I really liked is that when she first comes and tries to talk to Abby's character about everything, and Abby's like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, nothing. Like, and just drops it and leaves. You know what I mean? She doesn't like try to like push some sort of like hidden agenda of, oh, talk to some stranger about your problems because I was there too. Like, she doesn't pressure her in that sense. And I think at the end, like, she like kind of gets in, just trying to be there for her friend kind of thing. Whether or not she had other motives, I don't know, but she didn't try to make anything happen. But yeah, but I have some notes I can go through if you want to do it that way. I don't know if there's anything.
Are you ever going to mention the coming out monologue at the end of the film?
Yeah, let's talk about it, actually. Yeah.
So I want to talk about it now because we're talking about female representation of the LGBT community in film. And since this is a film about coming out, you know, which there are none. There are literally almost none in the Christmas genre of gay or lesbian or anyone falling in love during Christmas time. So I love the fact that this story does center around coming out. The Christmas world, not saturated. So the fact that she handles it really fucking poorly, it made sense for like one of the first big budget LGBT films. That moment where the best friend, whose name is escaping me, speaking with Abby, and he's talking with her, and he's like, how was your time coming out to your parents? And she was like, they loved me. And he was like, that's beautiful. My dad didn't. And it wasn't too much. It wasn't aggressive. It was just a really honest, like, we can sit here as an audience this whole movie and judge this girl for not coming out to her parents and not just like taking on like, I love myself and this is who I am. Or we can take 2 seconds of empathy and realize that not everyone either A, has the balls, B, doesn't want to lose that connection with their family. Like, it really is beautiful how close she was with their family. And I'm so happy that they end the way they end and their mentality ends the way that it ends. But his story to me just felt the most honest. And I loved that we just had one snippet of it, you know? Like, don't judge someone for a life you don't have to live.
He did a great job with that, and I loved that we get to see, I liked the way that they showed us enough about him and what he's like so that he wasn't like a small minor character. We still got enough of a sense, but we didn't go overly into his life because obviously it's not his story. But that part really did give more characterization to him and everything, and I really liked that. I will say, as I'm about to go into my list of toxic traits of Harper, the list does not include the fact that she does not want to tell her family, because I do not think it is fair for the audience, for Abby's character, for anyone to expect that of her. That is her own choice. It's the other stuff that she does that's messed up, not the choosing not to tell her family. If she never wants to tell her family, that is her choice. And that's why it's also Abby's choice. And that's kind of what Abby had said at first, was like, I don't want to be with someone who's not like that. That's Abby's choice as well. But it's the other stuff that happens.
I'm with you 100%. Like, it is none of your business. But if you don't want to be with someone who's not out, that's your fucking business. And it's wrong to like try to make someone stay with you, you know?
Right, exactly.
It is what it is. Continue. I love the fact that we can agree on that. I love that.
I guess I'll kind of just go into my list of the things that Harper did that I found toxic, just because I feel like those were more of my main notes, because I feel like those are things that are worth talking about and addressing, because again, she still stayed with her, and I feel like it's good for us to all like be paying attention to those sorts of things. So I thought it was funny because we literally start off with Harper literally letting Abby down because Abby falls off the house roof onto the floor. I was like, what a way to make it really clear that, hey guys, this is what the movie is going to be, the dynamic is going to be. Toxic sign number 1. Harper invited Abby to this family get together and then regretted it afterwards and tried to get out of it.
Oh! Oh! Mother of fucking God! Why did you invite her? You son of a bitch! The woman is an orphan! Fucking goodness gracious! Oh, you're thinking with your, oh my God, they're in the alley. And she's like, oh my God, come to Christmas with me. And then you don't think prior to the fucking car outside the door, hey, maybe this was the wrong way to go. And I get it, it's a movie, you gotta have conflict. She didn't have to say it outside the fucking house. She could have said it prior, given her, like, she could have given Abby more of the benefit of the doubt. Instead of like, hey, we're here, you want to leave? Like, I don't think you should be here. Oh, fuck. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was actually even talking about like the next morning at the kitchen. She's like, oh, are you sure? Like, it's okay. Like, who's going to take care of the pets? And I'm like, just say it. If you regret inviting her last night, that's fine. You made a mistake. You got caught in the moment. Say it now because you're already regretting it now. My next note was that, which is what you just said, that she doesn't tell Abby till it's too late, till they're literally in the car and Abby has no way of getting back home. So toxic trait number 2, or toxic sign number 2 there.
I almost had a heart attack. Because if it were me, I literally, before I go out anywhere with a significant other, I have such bad social anxiety that I always ask, I'm like, do the people that are there, do they know I'm going to be going? And if it's a no, then I'm like, then I don't really want to go if you're going to spring me on something. So that just made my personal heart like palpitate, because I was like, oh my God, I would die.
Yeah. And we find out during that she has been lying to Abby since the summer about having told her parents that she was out. Again, like we said earlier, you don't have to come out to your parents, that's your choice, but don't lie to your significant other, especially since the summer. It's now Christmas and you've been lying to her this whole time that you were out to your parents. Oof.
Can I
That was number 3. Yeah.
Number 3. If you're not out to your parents, don't make your significant other lie and say that they're not gay.
That was number 4 for me. Yep. It's be yourself, but is what I literally have written down, because she's basically like, oh, they think you're my roommate, but don't tell them you're, like, you can't also closet them. That's also, like, it's one of those things where I understand why she's trying, not that I agree with, but I understand why, because she's concerned that if her friend, like her roommate, is out, that then her parents will suspect that she might be, but it's still that person's choice. If Abby brought it up on her own and offered to do that, great. But you can't just tell Abby, you gotta be straight, kind of thing.
I've been thinking about this, because I agree. I've been thinking about this because, like, so I thought that the reason why they told, the reason why she didn't want Abby to be out was because of the way that her parents think of gay and lesbian individuals, and the way that they kind of snicker about, or sneer is the word I'm trying to say, of Riley. And they're like, oh, that lifestyle choice. And like how their sisters, like, not sisters, sister, like weaponized it. I thought that the family was going to be a lot more like hateful of the LGBT community, and maybe that's why. And even then, I was like, then why would you bring her if they're so horrible? Like, why would you put her through that? Like, if I love someone, I'm not going to put them through that. That's my family, my baggage, my business, not yours, you know? But then they only ever said one comment about Riley, which maybe they're just an ignorant, straight family with no LGBT representation whatsoever on either side, and they never grew up with it, and so they need to be educated. You know, like, fine. I think it would have added to the storyline. I think it would have made it much more interesting if the fact that Abby would be allowed to be out. Like, I thought it was like an unnecessary trial to put your girlfriend through. Does it make any sense? They could have had fun. They could have had fun with the family trying to navigate how to like treat her because she's gay. You know what I'm trying to say? Because they constantly call her the orphan. It would have given more like plot, if that makes any sense. It would have made the mom maybe want to invite the boyfriend over more, you know? I don't know. I just didn't see like a realistic reason as to why she had to closet her friend. Like,
Yeah.
like her.
No, I think for real life sake, I agree with you. I the only reason why I feel like it would be difficult screenwriting wise to have her out is then it's like, how far do you have this family go, and have it still be a Christmas movie and have us not hate the family kind of thing.
Yeah.
Number 5, I believe. I might and I think like honestly, there's probably a lot that I even missed in this list, but not mentioning White Elephant and warning Abby that she has to now participate in White Elephant. She kind of just forgot to tell her about that as well. Maybe that's not toxic, but I was like, girl, you're really not helping. Can you like try to put yourself in Abby's shoes right now and try to make it easier for her to like get your family to like her or something? Like it was just
I'll twist what you said into being the toxic trait. Being a shitty host, like ignoring, like inviting someone to your house and then ignoring them completely. Because she doesn't tell her about White Elephant. She doesn't go to her at any of the gatherings. She literally just like leaves her stranded to the point where I didn't even realize until you mentioned it now that she and her never talk about White Elephant. It's like a thing that's like constantly spoken of. That's a huge deal for the mom. I don't know if that were my girlfriend, like I'd probably go with her to the mall. You know what I mean? Not let her take like my niece and nephew by themselves. What did she end up doing instead?
she had to go help the dad with something, that's why. But like text her like ideas or text her to check in, like something. You know what I mean? I'd be like, hey, like, so sorry I can't come for like gotta be there for my father. Like I get it. Family comes first for stuff like that. Like he's going through a campaign, whatever. But yeah, either like go at night with her, because like how long are you or just be like, hey, this is what's normally gifted here. Like, or you know, honestly, if it were me, I'd be like, hey, you didn't expect to have this expense, I can get you a gift that you can give. Because in what world is it suddenly like, please go at this super rich, snobby neighborhood, go and like try to buy something that is supposed to be acceptable for White Elephant amongst all these really, really rich upper class people? Like, I would absolutely not let her even spend money on that. Number 6, I don't know, I've lost track. I should probably stop saying the numbers. Not bringing her to this dinner after Abby supposedly stole something. The family did not want to bring her to the next dinner they were going to, because she was just like basically like, you know, I mean, it didn't look good that she got caught stealing. So they were like, let's just let it settle down, let's not bring her. And then so they kind of like had this conversation where Harper was like, I know you didn't do it, but they just don't want you to come right now. And then she still went to dinner. And I
Wait,
was like,
dinner? Oh, is this the night she goes out with Riley?
yeah, it's because she's not invited. Like she's disinvited from this dinner. And Harper goes anyway. And again, it's like in the name of her dad's campaign. But I'm just like, okay, I would actually, there's only so many things you can help your dad out for his campaign for. If they don't want your friend, who, even though they don't know her as your girlfriend, they at least know her as your friend. If they're not letting your friend come over after a misunderstanding to this dinner, you shouldn't be going either. I'd just be like, hey, I'm not feeling well, I'm gonna stay home. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, can you just make up an excuse? Like, I'm not gonna leave my friend here to just like go to dinner her on her own.
I'm just honestly just shell shocked my face because like I didn't even realize, I didn't remember that plot line. I think after a while she was just doing such dicky things that I just was like not even Anytime Harper was on screen, I did not care. I was so invested in Kristen Stewart's character, and I was just like, homegirl. And I understand you need conflict, but I just feel like here's my thing. Here's my thing with the screenwriter. I understand you need conflict. Conflict is important, of course. But I like what you just said, and I want to highlight what you just said. Even if the family didn't know that they were together, that's still her friend. So Harper had opportunities where, yes, she was being a bad girlfriend, but she could have at least been a good friend or a decent friend. She could have offered to stay with Abby, and then Abby's the one that tells her, you know what, go to the dinner, have a great time, like, babe, like, don't worry about me. Because it felt like something in Abby's character to do, you know? She could have been like, hey, here's like a gift that my mother would love for White Elephant. And then while she's looking at the thing that Harper told her, that's when the kids slip the thing. The plot is the same. But Harper's at least trying. Because right now in the movie, like, Harper doesn't try. And then the last like 5 minutes were meant to feel sympathetic. I really liked it when Kristen Stewart was like, it's just really too late. And I kind of wanted it to end there, but I get it. It's Christmas. We have to end happy and with people. But I was like, I'm not happy that my friend is with this toxic ass bitch. Like, the way I always think about movies is like, I'm only happy when the couple gets together if I myself would tell my friend, like, yeah, that person's great. Go after them. But I wouldn't have done that this time.
So when they go out, they go out with the friends, Abby comes along with the friends. Before they went out, Harper specifically says, if you want to go, let's go. If not, we can stay home together. So basically it makes it clear that like whatever you want to do, we'll do. It wasn't phrased as, I really want to see my friends. I'd love for you to meet them too, but I haven't seen them in so long. Is it all right if I like, are you comfortable with like me going? And then if you don't want to come, I understand, no pressure. That's how she should have phrased it, because then when Abby asks like to go home and Harper's like, okay, like, well, have a good night. And Abby gets shocked and thrown off by that because Abby was given the impression that when she wants to go home, they will both go home together. Not okay, bye, go like have fun at my family's house while I stay here out with my friends, even though I told you that I'd go with you whenever you like. Just like tell her the full story, or acknowledge that you just basically twisted your words. Like, acknowledge that you changed your mind. You can change your mind, but like say something. Like, what?
And don't spend the evening after the fact with your ex.
Exactly. And then that's the next one, is that she spends the rest of that night, for a really late night, with the ex-boyfriend. And I'm going to really quickly talk about that because that was toxic as well, but not towards Abby. The fact that she lied to him, I understand that she really doesn't want anyone to know, and she can't even risk outing herself to him because, like, it's a small town, people clearly talk, I get it. I almost want to be like, couldn't you just, like, tell the truth with a small lie and make it a man in that situation? And just be like, there was another guy. Like, if you don't want to say there's another girl because you don't want to out yourself, it's a small town, I understand that's a risk. But just for his own sake, because this man is still pining after you at whoever knows how many years later, to not make him feel like he messed up and lost the love of his life, because that's clearly how he's viewing her, could you at least say there was another guy? Like, something to make it clear is like, you know, there is something else, you're not imagining things, and I just don't have the same feelings for you as I did for another person. Like, what was that?
She so deeply wants to be liked that she'd rather be the one that got away than the adult who walked away. That's what pisses me off with characters like that. Like, they need to exist. They're real people. Like, these types of characters exist in real life, you know? The people who are like, well, I don't want them to hate me, you know? But it's like, you're giving that person a gift just to let you go. You know, honesty is a gift. But it's a human trait. And again, these are fictional characters and all these things. But I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I felt in that moment so deeply bad for him, because he's not doing anything wrong. He even says to her at the party, like, I'm getting the sense that you didn't know I was gonna be there. He clearly has feelings for her. And it's not like she's not like curious, you know what I mean? She's clearly a gay woman. Like she's clearly a lesbian. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah, she has no interest in him. She's just leaving him along. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like she has no, it's not like she's like, here's the thing. You often see those types of characters where it's like they're straight and they're having a curious moment and then they fuck over the woman that they're with because they end up with a man. This woman is clearly a lesbian, has this guy pining over her, and rather just let him sulk and think that, oh, she just didn't want to be with me, than be an adult and say, no, I didn't feel that way for you the way that you would like me to have felt that way. So you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That pissed me off. Continue.
and I think I realize now I probably stopped after a certain point because I think I got done with listing out toxic signs because I have one more and then I thought of another one, but like I think my list might be too short. So I'd love to see like comments below of other toxic signs that we miss. The next one is the next morning she's super defensive when Abby comes to see her and she's like, why are you like, I don't understand what the issue is, like what's going on, and it's just like gaslighting to the extreme. And I was like, oh my god, she was literally trying to see how you are because you like, I don't think weren't texting back or something like
She
that.
wasn't texting back. She wasn't texting back. And like, I get it. Like, you're out with your friends, whatever the fuck, you're not texting back. But like, she's your guest. It's not like you're out in, I think they're from New York. It's not like you're in New York or Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, whatever the fuck. They're in a city. They're from the city. It's not like you're at home, you know what I mean? And she's like this crazy girlfriend living at home, like, where were you? No, she's like your fucking parents' house. She's your guest. It is your responsibility to check in with her. And then she's like, I just feel really suffocated. Like, it's 5 days that you're in this fucking house that you invited her on. Suffocated? Honey, you're the one that put the pillow over your own face. Like,
I love it. Yeah, those were all the ones that are the only other one I thought of as we were talking about it, that again is both to Abby and the ex, is when she gets jealous of Abby and Riley and she purposely flirts with her ex to bother Abby. Like she's being so flirty with him at that white elephant party when, as you said, she's clearly not interested in him at all. She's like very much gay, and yet she was flirting with him because Abby was talking to Riley. And I'm like, a normal person would have just gone and joined their conversation. You know what I mean? And then like, you know, like after a minute or two, like asked Abby to like talk or something if you really want to address it, which for some reason you're hesitant to.
when Abby went up to her and was like, I'm done, I felt like the Hallelujah chorus was playing in my heart. I was like, fuck yes, fucking finally. We have Dan Levy, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Dan Levy showed up. Oh, he's such a good friend. Like, can we just talk about this whole little sector really quick? I love that he shows up and he's like, we need to get you out of here. But the mom shows up and the mom is like, is this the ex-boyfriend? Like, that is how like completely gaydar off like these people are. And he's like, yes, I'm the heterosexual ex of Abby. And then he goes up to the ex of Harper and is like, what do you bench? What do you and then he's like starts flirting with him just like a little bit, and like, but it's one-sided. That was so good. That was so funny. Like his whole scene was so good. But I love the fact that he's there for her because she needed someone to freaking be there for her because she's a good person. And I like the fact that Riley was also on her side and that they weren't even flirting. Like, that's why I don't think that she should have ended up with Riley. Like, no, they weren't flirting.
Sorry to cut you off. The only night that there was flirting was from Riley when she switched over to the bench on her side to like sit with. That's why I say it was so mild and it wasn't trying to purposely you know what I mean? Like, because in other scenes you'd see like someone trying to, like, them getting drunk together. That's like, it wasn't anything, like, it was very innocent. I think Dan is my favorite character in this, hands down, because of how much fun he is. I love it because, what do you bet? And then he says that, he's like, what do you bet? She's like, 1,000.
No, my favorite bit with him is when he's calling, and the whole bit with the goldfish where he's calling, he's like, I love these fish so much. If I wanted to get one exactly the same for myself, where would I get one? And she's so serious. She's like, what happened with the fish? And he's like, it's not the moment. Is like, and then you see him with the bag, like, and like, I love his whole thing with like the tracking. Like, when are you gonna understand that I am tracking you?
My other note is that Harper's dad and Abby are very similar.
You you really come up in here, ladies and gentlemen of the fucking Heartbreaker Films YouTube channel. Comment down below if you've watched our videos and you're gonna agree with me and say that Belize's been coming up in these videos with the Electra complex quite often, and I'm sitting over here like, the fuck? Like, wait, what? You always point out when someone is like their dad, and I'm like, what? Like the last song, and now, like, okay, I'm not gonna disagree. I think they're both like level-headed people, and I think that's kind of it for me. I don't really see them too much as similar.
It's very, very small things. Obviously, he's more old fashioned, not as like whatever it is. There's just different moments that they have them specifically vibe. One of the main ones being about art history because he went to Paris and everything. Like there's always a minute or two where they try to vibe and then the mother interrupts at some point, but they're just very similar in those situations where they are talking to each other. Where I actually think that like of everyone in the family, Abby gets along most with him because he has most similar traits to her.
But you know why that happens?
Why the
It's
mother
not
comes along?
because they're similar. Why, you know why she gets along with him? She says at the beginning of this movie, I'm gonna propose to Harper and I'm gonna ask her father for permission. So it's like any little thing that he has in like, it's like, take her out of it and replace it with like another, like, you gotta remember that the whole plot for her plot isn't like, I'm gonna have this nice Christmas with Harper. It's, I'm gonna go meet her family for the first time. I'm gonna win over her parents' affection, and I'm gonna ask for their permission to marry their daughter. And like, societally speaking, like culturally speaking, you always ask the father for permission. So like every time he vibes with her, because like the art history thing for me, I thought was him belittling her or just being condescending towards her. Where she's like getting this fucking PhD in art history, and he's like, I went to Paris for a month. It's like me saying I have a master's degree in movies, and someone was like, I go to the theater every day when I was a child. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like not the same thing. But if that was the parent of my significant other, I would be like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We get along. You know what I'm trying to say?
I agree with you that like that there's the separate plot going on that Abby's trying to ask for his permission, everything like that. So that might be why she's trying to interact with him more specifically. But I didn't read that as him belittling it because he his eyes light up when he talks about it, and he literally says that that time changed his life. And he was, again, it was one of those situations where once again he was going to keep going into it further but gets cut off. And so that's why I think there are very small similarities, but I just think that it's done in a way where I see it. And I think that at the same end, Harper and her mother have very small similarities as well with their perfectionism and their appearances and everything like that. And I think that Abby and him are both similar in those sorts of things of their interest in art history. Um, she's interested in his like politics and like stuff like that. I don't know. I know that part of it is her like trying to just get him to like her and everything. And I don't think it's that, I'm not trying to say that like Harper married her father, but I think that Abby is most similar to Harper's dad of all the family members that Harper has.
Well, no, though I was like kind of poking fun at you a little bit with the Electra complex, like typically speaking, like people chase people who remind them of their parents, especially the ones that had the bigger significant impact on them. You know? So like I've gone out with a man before, and I remember saying to him, I was like, "Oh my god, you remind me so much of my mom. Like you remind me so much of my mother. It was insane." And when I put them in the same room together, I was like, oh, "My god." You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so I do agree with you. There's definitely similarities there because we're raised by those people, and she is such, I'm in love with my mom, right? I love my mom. Like I would rather find someone who reminds me of my mother than my father. And she craves, craves so deeply the favor of her father. So it makes sense that she would meet someone who has all the traits that she adores of the man who raised her, you know, because she loves her parents. Like it's not like she fears her parents, it's that she loves them so much, she fears that they won't love her the same. And that's a reasonable fear to have.
Besides that, I have one cool thing I noticed that I want to talk about. So I watched this twice, right? The first time I watched it, I did not pay attention to the opening. Second time I watched it, I did. There's opening artwork that they have where it shows like Abby and Harper getting together and falling in love. One of the pieces of the artwork that they show is necklaces. They both get like necklaces as a gift. I don't remember who gives it to who. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I'm gonna be on the lookout for any, to see those necklaces if I see them at all. The entire movie went by. The second time I watched it, I didn't notice it at all. And then I remembered it again at the end, and I was like, this is bothering me. I want to see. I was like, you can't show that these necklaces were gifted and then not have them appear. They must have appeared. I didn't see them. So they do wear necklaces. They have matching necklaces that are little gold bars, and they wear it throughout the film. And I went to each and every scene to see when we were seeing these worn or not. And at first I was really confused because in the opening, you only see like Harper wearing it. And then the next scene, like Abby and Harper wearing it. And then there's another scene where they're not. And I was like, I'm trying to find what it is, like the significant change that this necklace is not being worn, because there's something that is trying to be conveyed, just like the necklaces in 10 Things I Hate About You, which we will eventually show there. So I love that the costume designers tend to go for necklaces when trying to portray messages. But I finally,
because it's gonna be in the close-up.
yeah, exactly. So I finally figured out what it was. The entire film, Abby does not take her necklace off. We do not always see the necklace because sometimes she wears turtlenecks, sometimes she wears sweaters, but she's always wearing the necklace. And the reason why I say that is because we either see the necklace or there's a turtleneck or a sweater. There is no situation where she has a bare neck and there's no necklace on there. Harper stops wearing her necklace at one point. So it kind of shows when everything takes a turn in terms of their dynamic at the house. After the parents almost catch them that morning in the bed, after that, Harper stops wearing the necklace. We see multiple scenes where Harper has a bare neck and there's no necklace on there, and she stops wearing it. And it's kind of like, because I thought that it was going to be a representation of their love for each other. And I think it's just a representation of how Harper feels and how worried she is about what her parents will think. And it's kind of more, I view it almost more as like, although it is also for her love and Harper, I also view it as like how nervous she is about the fact that her parents might find anything like that. Even though it's not like the idea of like they'll find out through the necklace, but that's just what it represents. The necklace comes back on when they're at the bookstore. At the very end, at the sister site. That is the next time we see Harper wearing the necklace. The entire time Abby wears it, even when she runs away and leaves her and breaks up with her, she's wearing the necklace the entire time. But Harper takes it off and only puts it back on once her parents like accept her.
Damn. Oh, I love that. Oh, wow. I have nothing to say. I didn't see that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and I just thought that was so cool. I was like, I love that kind of stuff. That's all my notes. Do you have anything you want to talk about, or what would you?
I just really loved the character of Jane very much. I loved the fact that she has a book signing at the end, and I thought it was a really cute little tie-in because that Dan Levy is a literary agent and that she is writing a book, because I didn't think about it the whole movie. And then she's talking about this world and she's like really into talking about her world. And he's like, oh yeah, 100%. This makes complete, like he's completely with her. Like he's like, this makes so much sense. And it just I felt very connected to that because like my mom is so nice and kind and beautiful. And she'll always ask me about like the book, my book, and like what I'm writing, because I'm always writing. And anytime I try to say it, I just see her eyes glaze over so hard, but she keeps smiling because she's trying so hard to listen to me. It's so hard. But then I talk to you and I'll tell you about my world and I'll tell you about my characters, and you're like the Dan Levy in my life. And so what's funny is that online everyone loves Jane. I feel like Jane is the best, and I'm happy that the only person that really gets a happy ending is Jane. How the dad and the mom, who care so much about appearance, like their family crumbles, they lose their reputation that they built, and he loses the election, but what he gains is perspective. He gains the respect of his family back. And so they realize like something that a lot of those families, those type of families, need to realize, which is like, if you care so much about the picture, what's inside the picture will be meaningless. What would you change?
So, I would say that I'm not going to, as much as I don't love that she picked Harper, I'm not going to change that because I understand why for a Christmas movie we want to be happy, and I don't think Riley's the better choice. So, okay, whatever. The one thought that I had in terms of changing that I thought would be fun is I thought that initial dinner scene where the ex-boyfriend comes to dinner, I thought it was like a little chicken the way it was done. Like I wanted there to be like more that happens, like more drama at that dinner scene. And it was kind of like he came, there was like two interactions and then I like cut up and went to the bathroom and ran to another ex. But I was like, I want like more consequences here, more of something to come up. Like I wanted it to be more of a dramatic, like fun scene that I was expecting with the setup of like having the ex-boyfriend show up, and then it kind of just like fell flat for me. So I would have changed that part.
Remind me to never invite you to family dinners in my hometown ever.
What I just really wanted to happen is I wanted the two to try to compete for a second. Like I wanted stuff to come up and like the boy Abby and the ex to try to like one up each other. I think that's what I was like looking for.
No, what I would change is very minimal. It's what I kind of mentioned in the beginning. I would have just made Harper a better friend so that at least when they do end up together in the end, she wasn't a total fucking dickbag. You know, her flaw was in the fact that she didn't want to come out, not that she's just a toxic person all out. You know what I'm trying to say? Because then I would have understood why Abby would stay. Because the way that it ends currently, I'm just kind of like, yeah, she fights for you, but here's the thing about her fighting for Abby. She only fought for Abby because she was outed. She only fought for Abby because everyone already knows, and now everyone's going to change their perspective on her, so she doesn't want to lose this one person that loved her 24/7 just for being herself. You know? It just didn't feel, I don't know, if I were Abby in La Vida Real, I don't think I would have stayed with someone after treating me like garbage for 5 days. And I don't think you would have wanted me to either. But if in the movie world, I agree, they have to end up together. Also, this is an LGBT film. There's so few. How can we have an LGBT movie and not have them end up together? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of message are you sending? You know what I'm saying? Like, the girls have to end up together and they have to fall in love, and like the family is accepting and beautiful, and they're going to have this great relationship together. So if that's going to be the case, I would have loved to see some of her loyalty in other ways. And I like the ways that we highlighted at the beginning of the film of like, you know, the white elephant, being upfront with her, cutting off ties with the boyfriend, and then when everything blows up, but then I would have cared about them being together more. What would you rate it?
8, I think 8. I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
I want to give it an 8, and then I want to give it a 7, but I think an 8 is too high and a 7 is way too low. And so I'm like, maybe a 7.5. I want to give it a 7.5, 8, something like that.
So 12 Dates of Christmas on Disney Plus. Sam is really looking forward to this. Comment below any toxic signs we left out. If you think she really should have ended up with Riley, if you agree that she shouldn't have ended up with any of them. Yeah.
And let us know of any Christmas movies that come to your mind that are love stories that are worth the hype. I need to wash the holiday out of my body. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Sam.
I'm Belize.
And this has been Heartbreaker Films. See you next week. But with that math that you just gave me, you're telling me that the Hallmark is bad.
I'm saying from your point of view, I like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't pitch it. You're the one who picked Holiday. I picked the last two movies and you thoroughly enjoyed them.
Back your mouth up. Back your mouth
I picked Last Christmas and I picked this one, Happiest Season, and you picked The Holiday. So I don't know why you're reluctant to watch my Hallmarky movie.
And I'm sitting up in here going, I love Christmas movies. Fuck it. Fine. Let's watch the Hallmark. Let's see the big town city girl go back to the place where she grew up and fall in love with the guy who makes maple syrup and yet lives in like a mansion.